Insurance fraud in the UK is reaching epidemic levels, and it's costing us billions of pounds a year. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injury claims, even fake deaths. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year, it's adding up to £50 to your insurance bill. Insurers are fighting back. Armed with covert surveillance systems.
The equipment that we have to use has to be cutting edge. It's as simple as that.
Sophisticated data analysis techniques.
This is connected to a bank account and a second mobile phone number.
And a newly formed dedicated police unit.
Police, get back!
They're catching the criminals red-handed. All those con men, scammers, cheats on the fiddle, now they're caught in the act, and claimed and shamed. Today, the fraud enforcement team confronts a gang of suspected insurance cheats.
Police!
A debt-ridden dentist fakes his own death.
She appeared to be upset, a few tears, but I didn't believe her.
And a footballer who claimed he couldn't play has some unwanted spectators at his home ground.
Clement is now walking towards the buildings to the right of the stadium.
Welcome to Doncaster, home of James Chel. James used to be a promising footballer with the possibility of a professional career ahead of him. That was until 2002, when he was involved in a car crash, leaving James very badly injured. Because the car he was in was uninsured, the bill for James's injuries had to be footed by the MIB, the Motor Insurers Bureau.
The MIB is a not-for-profit organisation funded by the insurance industry, set up purely to provide a means of compensation for victims of both uninsured and untraced driving.
James was not going to be a professional sportsman, but at least he had financial security. The MIB had already paid £30,000 to the cropped footballer, with tens of thousands more to hopefully follow. Over time, James experienced a gradual improvement in his condition. But in 2008, 6 years after the crash, an outlandish request for a further £1.3 million caused the MIB to look again.
Suddenly we were faced with a claim for accommodation. He was saying he needed single-storey accommodation. He was saying he needed large amounts of personal care to look after him. This didn't fit with the pattern of the injuries and the recovery that he'd been making up to that point.
This information was surprising to the MIB. Wanting to know more, it called in some expert snoops. If you want to spy on someone, the surveillance group will get the job done. It's got a team of highly trained operatives who know how to follow your every move.
We live in a surveillance society. Fraudsters are aware that they might be placed under surveillance, and to that end we have to stay one step ahead of the game and ahead of them. That means that we have to tailor our methods accordingly, and the equipment that we have to use has to be cutting edge. It's as simple as that. Ultimately, our task is to gain an objective slice of their life. So it's simply a case of turning up and maximising the amount of footage that we can get so that others within the legal process can form a good, objective opinion of someone's capabilities.
Entering the passenger side, door closed.
Roger.
Tim and his team were given the job of filming the local soccer star.
The claimant now a passenger, backseat of a red Peugeot.
And one cold December afternoon, it found that despite suffering from difficulty concentrating,
Claimant is now walking towards the buildings to the right of the stadium.
severe fatigue, poor motivation and poor coordination,
Claimant now unsighted towards the changing rooms.
and aching in his neck and ankles, James Chel was still capable of this.
The footage shows effectively James Chel playing a game of football in a normal manner, running from one end of the pitch to the other and making minute decisions in kind of microseconds, whether he should head the ball, whether he should kick the ball, all those types of things. And this was clearly a man who said that he needed constant assistance from his father, and clearly his father wasn't there running beside him telling him to score, telling him to kick the ball, telling him to head the ball. So I think that the footage really speaks volumes in this case.
Mr. Chel was playing football for Erdington Rovers. He had recently obtained a Man of the Match award. He was captain of the side.
I guess he felt that no one really cared, or no one would be kind of monitoring his activity overall.
This kind of behaviour is simply not acceptable. It's not acceptable to MIB, it's not acceptable to the insurance industry, and clearly the courts support that view by the extent of the sentences.
It's not okay to exaggerate. It's not okay to gain an extra amount of money from an insurer. It's still lying, and when someone lies, it's attempting to defraud someone.
James was sentenced to 12 months for contempt of court after submitting an exaggerated claim for £1.35 million. His father, Robert Chel, also received a year's imprisonment for supporting his son's claim.
The money, ultimately, that MIB pay and the cost of running MIB all comes from premium-paying motorists. It's yours and my premium that are funding the claims that we pay.
A dodgy dentist comes back from the grave.
It takes a hard-hearted individual, I believe, to put his family through what they've been put through.
And a London crash for cash gang gets busted.
And he's now associating with vehicle 2 and the occupant.
In the fight against the growing problem of insurance fraud, an elite police squad has come together to form IFED, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department.
Insurance fraud isn't a victimless crime. £50 of each premium you pay each year goes to the fraudsters. We have been set up to tackle that problem.
This dedicated team works tirelessly to bang up the crooks and conmen getting rich off other people's money.
Police, get back!
It is our intention to create a climate of fear for the fraudster. There's every chance that an IFED detective may come knocking on their door to arrest them for committing an insurance fraud.
Police, don't move, stay where you are!
By April 2012, after only 6 months of operating, it had already busted 80 fraudsters, adding up to £12 million of fraud under investigation.
These people are criminals. These are nasty people. They don't go out to work on a Monday morning like most people do. Their work is submitting insurance fraud claims.
It's basically an investigation into organised motor vehicle fraud. There's 4 main targets today. They basically incept insurance policies on motor vehicles that they don't own. Then that vehicle is involved in an accident, either staged or entirely made up. And then they claim for recovery of the third-party vehicle, storage costs, hire cars and personal injury claims. There's 2 main addresses we've got Section 8 warrants for. Okay.
The group being targeted by IFED is thought to specialise in a specific type of motor insurance fraud, crash for cash. Crash for cash is a term given to collisions executed in order to make money from motor insurance policies. And it's big business. There are an estimated 30,000 crash for cash incidents per year on Britain's roads, valued at least £350 million. Adding an average of £44 to your motor insurance bill every year. It's time for IFED to move in on the suspects.
There's quite a large number of people involved in the fraud, incepting insurance policies and being named as either third-party drivers, claiming hire car costs, storage costs and personal injury. But we've identified 4 main suspects who we're looking to arrest today.
IFED's first destination is a pair of heavily guarded neighbouring houses. The buildings are smothered in CCTV cameras. IFED hopes to search for evidence of fraud at the properties, but has no idea how many potential suspects will be standing in its way. There's no sign of life from the house on the right, but the team find the house on the left unlocked. Inside, they discover a suspect with his pockets full of cash, but no incriminating paperwork.
We just found some money, £1,000 in the pocket of one of the suspects. I'll just leave that with you.
What have been next for conspiracy to defraud? He's getting a bit playful with that one, yeah.
Do you want it? If you come then.
Where are your shoes?
So who nicked him, Barry? You?
On the stairs, yeah.
The other house has not been so easy to access, but IFED has found a small open window.
He's in.
Police! Open the door, please. Good morning. Good morning, we've got a warrant to search this address.
Hello? See London Police, we're executing a search warrant. Do you want to get yourself up?
4 startled occupants are turfed out of bed.
Do you want to jump up out of bed and we'll come and speak to you downstairs? Okay? I'll explain exactly what's happening.
No, that is my uncle came back.
Right, all take a seat, take a seat. Okay, we've got a warrant to search this address.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'm just telling you what's happening. We're going to search the address. It's in relation to conspiracy to defraud insurance companies. Okay, motor vehicle fraud.
No, nobody.
I'm just telling you what we're searching. That's right. The warrant relates to motor vehicle fraud, okay? So we're going to search this address.
All right.
You understand? Right, first of all, you're under arrest for conspiracy to defraud, okay? You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later run in court.
What fraud? I haven't done no
motor vehicle fraud.
I haven't done no motor vehicle.
Okay, you can tell me in the interview, okay?
All right.
Yeah, should we just sit him out of the way for a time? Yeah.
IFED makes 2 arrests, but the key suspect is nowhere to be seen. So they start the search for the hard evidence needed to get the convictions.
We're looking for items associated with motor insurance fraud, so computers, mobile phones, any documentation relating to insurance policies. We'll take that phone and charger. So this one will be bedroom 3.
The search has only just begun when there is a breakthrough in the hunt for the missing suspect.
Yes, this phone. No, this is it. Yeah.
Could this be their man?
Can we come in? I'll just explain to you what's going on. You're burning the house down.
Crash for cash gangs operate all over Britain. Most choose a set area or even a regular stretch of road on which to operate. Simply slamming on their brakes in front of a victim would attract suspicion, so the crash gangs have evolved a devious 2-car tactic. First, the gang chooses a victim. Then they move their 2 cars into position in front of the target. Gang car number 1 then slams on its brakes. Gang car 2 reacts by braking hard, resulting in a rear-end shunt from the victim. Gang car 1 then turns off at the next possible turning, pretending to be unaware of the crash. One crash gang chose northwest London as their hunting ground, frequently crashing for cash on London's North Circular. What the gang didn't count on was a dedicated unit from the Met Police filming their every move.
They were a gang based up in northwest London who were on a daily basis slamming on in front of vehicles so they can make claims throughout various accident management companies and put in personal injury claims.
The Met wanted the gang off the roads, so it set about gathering evidence. For a bird's eye view of the gang at work, DC Eastick called in the help of the Met Police helicopter.
We used the helicopter to try and film the gang causing these accidents because it's more graphic from the air when you see vehicles slamming on and the other vehicle driving off and no party of it, what we call the decoy vehicle. It also just demonstrates quite clearly to the jury what is going on.
Dispatched at the last minute, the police helicopter just manages to capture the crash gang as it springs its trap. At the top of the screen, gang car 1 is about to be seen braking hard. Gang car 2 reacts, forcing the victim in the white transit van to smash into it. Minutes later, the occupants of the two cars meet up. The crash footage captured by the helicopter was not very clear. DC Eastick and his team would need better evidence to get the gang convicted. Then, one fateful day in the summer of 2009, they filmed the gang having a very busy day on North London's roads. It's 12:40 on the 29th of July 2009. The police are tailing the gang. Gang car 1 and 2 are setting up their latest victim for a smash. This time, they're foiled by the quick reactions of the intended victim. 3 hours later, they come across the gang after a reckless crash on a motorway slip road. The innocent victim has accepted responsibility for the crash and hands over his details. The fraudsters, absorbed in fleecing their latest victim, are completely unaware of the hazard they created. Still, the Met had not captured indisputable evidence that these incidents were staged. They had to prove that these cars were working as a team, and that afternoon, their patience was to be rewarded. The two gang cars are observed filling up at a petrol station. Then, the gang members do something that seals the case for the police.
And he's now associating with vehicle 2 and the occupants.
The high five really was mission accomplished, because that demonstrates that they obviously had a mission for that day and they accomplished that mission, and that was to cause an accident. When this case went to court, the video evidence that we obtained was so compelling that they really had no choice but to plead guilty at the earliest opportunity, which resulted in one of them getting 8 months imprisonment and 2 of the others getting 6 months imprisonment.
Personally, I think they're outrageous. It's costing me and every other motor policy holder an extra £40 or £50. If you're involved in a crash, take pictures of all the individuals, take pictures of the damage to their vehicle, not only your vehicle but their vehicle. It's evidence later on that you can provide to your insurance company that might just protect your no claims bonus and prove that this was a fraud.
Most insurance companies employ specialist fraud investigators who can spot a suspicious claim from looking at just a few pieces of paperwork, meaning it's hard to elude them, even from beyond the grave. Welcome to Barnstable. This peaceful Devonshire town used to be home to father of 4, Emmanuel Paresis.
I think Emmanuel Paresis was viewed as a pillar of the community. As a dentist, you're held in high regard, obviously.
Earning a hefty £135,000 a year, Mr. Paresis should have lived a very comfortable life. But tragically, in 2009, during a trip to Jordan, he died in a car crash. His grieving wife received £51,000 in insurance payouts and was due to receive a further £1.8 million from his life insurance policies. But first, she had to wait. Insurers will always check a claim of this size and nature, so private investigator John Saunders was called in to investigate.
When someone dies overseas, insurance companies come to us asking for advice on documentation and so forth. And I think over the last 25 years I've worked in 74 countries I've been to investigate claims.
John started to look into the case and straight away found inconsistencies.
The story was that they'd spent August in Greece on holiday, and his wife came back with the children to the end of August, beginning of September, because they were starting school. And Emmanuel apparently had then taken his mother from Greece to see a heart specialist in Jordan, in Amman. It seems strange that he wanted to go all the way to Amman to see a heart specialist, when I'm sure there are very good heart specialists in Athens.
After a meeting with Mrs. Paresis, John's suspicions were raised even further.
When I interviewed the wife, she appeared to be upset, a few tears, but I didn't believe her. She didn't have sufficient knowledge. Had her husband died as claimed, I'd have expected to have more information about where he was buried, who arranged the burial, who he was with at the time, which hospital he died in. But it was clear to me she wouldn't have prepared herself for such questions and didn't know the answers, yet they were meant to be very close.
John had a hunch, but no evidence, so he jetted off to Greece to check out the paperwork. But everything looked above board. So he moved on to the scene of the crash, Jordan, where he made some important discoveries.
The death registration certificate was a fake document. There was no record at the cemetery of any burial. And then my visit to the Greek embassy there, where it appeared they'd been told all about the death by, I think it was Costas, a lawyer. When we looked at the embassy, looked at the documents and found that the lawyer had a Hotmail address. I thought it was rather unusual for a law firm to have a Hotmail address. And it was pretty clear to me that the lawyer didn't exist. It was Emmanuel Parisas taking on the role of the lawyer. So by that time we had more than sufficient evidence to show that he had not died.
John knew Mr. Parisas was alive, but had no idea where he was hiding. So he flew back to England and handed his evidence to the police. The job of finding the deceptive dentist was given to DI Mike West of the Devon and Cornwall Police.
I knew that it was going to be complex, and I knew that the inquiry needed to be focused. Parisas had stayed in Greece, we believe, waiting for the £1.8 million to roll in. But when that didn't happen, and certainly didn't happen anytime soon, he had to do something. He had a wife and 4 children in the UK to support.
A major breakthrough in the case occurred around 9 months after the fake death, when they received a tip-off that Parisas had resurfaced in Scotland, immediately alerting DI Mike West.
We identified the fact that Parisas was living under the name of Neil McLaren, and he was operating as a dentist within a surgery in Peterhead, within the Grampian area of Scotland.
After almost a year-long manhunt, the trail had come to an end. DI Mike West closed in on the resurrected dentist.
Parisas was arrested in the company of other family members. He certainly showed some surprise when we arrived at his doorstep. We identified a fraud kit which enabled him to fake his identity. It included official-looking stamps, documentation from various universities and seats of learning. He was obviously prepared for this and living a lie for a significant period of time.
For 3 months, Mr. and Mrs. Parisas had left their children thinking they had lost their dad.
It takes a hard-hearted individual, I believe, to put his family through what they've been put through, and the psychological damage can't be underestimated.
For her part, Mrs. Parisas was sentenced to 16 weeks. Mr. Parisas was jailed for 5 years on fraud charges and struck off the General Dental Council's register. His sentence was later reduced to 3 years. The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, IFED, is executing a raid at the first of 3 addresses. It suspects some occupants are linked to a crash-for-cash ring. The officers have already made 2 arrests. They've been bagging evidence at the raid properties for just under an hour and are trying to track down their outstanding suspect.
Just something maybe of interest, various mobile phones are ringing, but one of them potentially has the name of the outstanding suspect coming up.
Has it?
Yeah. There is one outstanding, isn't there?
Yeah, does it keep coming up? It's number, name,
yeah,
isn't it?
I believe so. It's a variation of the name.
Good morning, it's Sean Corrigan. How you doing? I've just got 3 body checks, please, if you want the details.
The 3 men being held downstairs are not believed to be fraudsters, but stored in one of their mobile phones is the number of the missing suspect.
Are these your phones? Yeah, I think the guy who we're trying to arrest is ringing them. Can you get his number up?
IFED gets access to the suspect's number.
It's PC Corrigan from police station, you're right. The sooner we speak to you, the better. How long do you reckon you'll be? About half an hour. If you make it any sooner, you'll try. Okay.
Upstairs, the evidence is mounting.
Claimant solicitors and a certificate of motor insurance. Sorry to hear that you've been involved in a road traffic accident and have sustained injuries. Okay, this is exactly what we've been looking for. You know, you'd have expected someone involved in this kind of activity to keep a stash of documentation somewhere. It looks like we may have found it.
The outstanding suspect has, predictably, not shown up. With the evidence in the bag, the team follows a lead to a third property.
You're a guy in the back, mate, yeah? I'm from the City of London Police. Can I just come in? I'll just speak to you about what we're doing. Basically, we've got a warrant for this address, OK? Let me come in and I'll explain to you, all right?
Something burning.
Are you all right? You're burning the house down? Can we come in? I'll just explain to you what's going on. Yeah? It's all right.
Is it off? Yeah, I've got everything sorted.
DCI Dave Wood is very interested in the burnt paper in the kitchen and toilet.
Where's the... Well, it appeared from the time that it took us to travel from the previous search warrant addresses to here, which is a short journey, we only took about 7 or 8 minutes. In that time, I'm guessing communication has been passed into this premises where the lady who's opened the door to us eventually has burnt some evidence.
Despite the smokescreen, the IFED officers still find an armful of evidence and decide to arrest the suspect they came for.
OK, you didn't have to say anything but arm your defence if you don't mention in question something you later on in court, and anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand? Yeah. OK.
The missing suspect has still not been arrested. All other suspects are currently on bail, and if convicted of insurance fraud, could face up to 10 years in prison. Insurance fraud in the UK is reaching epidemic levels, and it's costing us billions of pounds a year. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injury claims, even fake deaths. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year, it's adding up to £50 to your insurance bill. Insurers are fighting back, armed with covert surveillance systems.
How they think they can get away with it, I don't know, when the evidence from the camera is so clear.
Sophisticated data analysis techniques.
This is connected to a bank account and a second mobile phone number.
And a newly formed dedicated police unit.
Police, get back!
They're catching the criminals red-handed. All those con men, scammers, cheats on the fiddle, now they're caught in the act, and claimed and shamed. Today, a fire investigation team searches for clues amongst the ashes.
Mr. Ross's factory was totally destroyed.
The Met Police execute a raid on a small business, and insurance fraud enters the art world.
25% of my cases will have some insurance fraud element to it.
It's just after 9 p.m. on the 19th of August 2009. A massive fire has engulfed a carpet warehouse at the Knowsley Industrial Park, Liverpool.
Hi, service. Oh, hi, listen, I'm just working late. My warehouse is on fire, and all outside's on fire.
Well, on the night the call came in, it was about 9:05 in the evening. A fire was reported by a treble 9 call.
It's literally... sorry.
Are you okay?
Initially, the Merseyside Fire Department dispatched 2 fire engines to deal with the blaze. On arrival, Fire Officer Miles Platt knew they would need more help.
I got called to the incident as it was developing. I quickly assessed the scene and I realised that this was a significant blaze. It was a warm summer's evening, there was a strong wind blowing, and this intense fire was spread over a large geographical area. And very quickly I realised that we'd need to get a lot of assets down there on the ground to actually deal with this incident and ultimately extinguish it.
The Merseyside Fire Department arrives to find warehouse owner Elliot Ross watching his business go up in flames.
There was a wide impact, so this significant blaze, there was real fear of that spread into the adjacent properties, and the amount of water and resources that we got over a fairly long period of time actually to contain that blaze.
The fire was so intense, 6 other businesses on the estate had their buildings damaged by the blaze. It took 12 fire engines to tame the flames.
You've actually got pallets and machinery that's on fire. You've got vehicles in another geographical location which are on fire. We had to shut down roads to access water supplies, to make the public safe.
The destruction to the carpet warehouse was so extensive, business owner Elliot Ross would need to file an insurance claim of £200,000 to cover the damage. The Merseyside Fire Department knew that the fire had started in 3 places. This is very unlikely to occur without human intervention. Someone had deliberately tried to destroy Mr. Elliott's warehouse.
It's a massive operation, and this was a large protracted incident as a result of somebody's setting fire deliberately.
It had become an arson investigation. The case was handed to a brand new team named Flare. Set up in June 2009, Flare is a joint police and fire brigade unit tasked with investigating cases of commercial arson. The team investigating this arson was headed up by Fire Marshal Mark Schuler and DC Karen Nixon.
Mark and I attended the fire the following morning. There was still a lot of fire appliances there tending the fire. There was a huge damage. A number of businesses were affected. One was partly destroyed. Mr. Ross's factory was totally destroyed. So it was a scene of devastation, really.
The Flare unit discovered the fire had been started by 3 disposable barbecues. These barbecues became the starting point for their investigation.
There were 2 of those placed in the pallet yard, which was the adjoining business, and then there was 1 left on the windowsill of Mr. Ross's warehouse.
2 of the barbecues had been destroyed by the fire, but the one left on the windowsill was only half burnt. This barbecue became crucial to the investigation.
Now that barbecue had been stacked with a number of items which were extremely significant and of great value to our investigation, and they included a whole toilet roll, a couple of newspapers, and a piece of cardboard which subsequently was found to be the wrapping of a pair of gloves. We were able to take those very small fragments and be able to backtrack them and source where they'd come from.
The half-burnt toilet roll from the barbecue was sent to a forensic team. Its composition was compared against 44 other types of toilet roll. The results were very interesting. The burnt toilet paper exactly matched rolls stored at the warehouse.
The toilet roll that was recovered in the barbecue at the seat of fire was identical to the toilet rolls that Mr. Elliot Ross had in his premises, and nobody else had those, so it was a very strong link.
This revealed that the fire was started by someone who had access to the warehouse. Warehouse owner Elliot Ross was now on the shortlist of suspects. To narrow the list, Flare turned its attention to another item in the half-burnt barbecue.
Amongst the disposable barbecue at that location, there was a small fragment of cardboard. We found out that that was actually part of a packaging for a protective glove.
The card had come from a box of latex gloves. Crucially, the piece of card had a web address on it, that of the manufacturer. The Flare unit contacted the glove makers.
They were able to tell us that the glove packaging was theirs and that they made them for a well-known large supermarket chain. Significantly for us, that particular packaging had only been available from May of that year, so there was only 43 sales of those gloves in the Merseyside area. But it actually gave us 1 purchase of gloves. That was the night before the arson attack, and it was actually at a large supermarket which was near to where Mr. Ross lived.
From just fragments of evidence, the Flare unit had found a prime suspect. warehouse owner Elliot Ross, but they would need much more conclusive evidence to prove their suspicions. Technology was to provide the next breakthrough. The flare unit was granted access to information about Mr. Ross's mobile phone. Specifically, they had a map where the phone was each time it had been used.
We were able to put Mr. Ross within 900 metres of that supermarket on that evening. And then subsequently to that, we got further information which enabled us to actually put him outside and then inside that supermarket at the time of the purchase.
The flare unit knew it was close and needed one last piece of evidence. So they went back to the supermarket to ask for a detailed list of purchases from the night before the fire. From that, the flare unit discovered that Mr. Ross had made purchases in the store. Very incriminating purchases. A bottle of flammable liquid. Some extra long matches. And most importantly, the box of latex gloves whose packaging was found stuffed in the half-burnt barbecue. The flare unit had got its man. At Liverpool Crown Court, Elliot Ross pleaded not guilty. But after a 4-week trial, the jury reached their verdict. He was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison.
Maybe it wasn't his intention to cause so much damage, but he didn't know the risk that he was going to place all those firefighters that had to tackle those 2 seats of fire simultaneously. He didn't think about that, did he?
Yes, I do think Elliot Ross understood the seriousness of his actions. I believe that he planned the fire carefully and that he set it with a view to causing considerable damage in his property so that he could make a fraudulent claim and defraud the insurance company. And I do believe he knew what he was doing when he did it.
The Met Police move in on a suspected fraud gang. And a bus company faces a Whiplash claim.
It looks as though the UK public have got the weakest necks in Europe.
If you were involved in a road traffic accident, you might be approached by an accident management company. An honest accident management company will help to process your insurance forms, provide a hire car whilst yours is being fixed, and help with any claims for personal injury you may have suffered. However, the last 10 years have seen a dramatic rise in fraudulent accident management companies. Not just helping, but encouraging people to make fraudulent claims. The rise of these rogue businesses isn't being left unchecked. This is the home of the Met Traffic Unit. Set up in 2009, this specialist department is committed to reducing the number of traffic-related deaths, injuries and crimes on London's roads.
My team will use every method available in order to catch them. Overt tactics, covert tactics, the helicopter, any tactic that we can think of, we will use to catch these people.
One of their missions is to eradicate fraudulent accident management companies. Today, the traffic unit is executing a multiple location raid on an accident management company that's believed to be involved in fraudulent activity.
We're hoping to execute a search warrant and arrest a director of an accident management company that we believe, or certainly suspect, has been involved in arranging induced collisions. And of course, part of today will be to obtain the evidence to support our suspicions. We've certainly been investigating them for some 8 to 9 months now. So we're quite happy that they're involved in criminality.
The small business being raided is suspected to be orchestrating induced collisions, also known as crash for cash. Crash for cash is a term given to collisions executed in order to make money from motor insurance policies. And it's big business. There are an estimated 30,000 crash for cash incidents per year on Britain's roads, valued at least £350 million, adding an average of £44 to your motor insurance bill every year. Also from the Met Traffic Unit is DC E-Stick.
I'll have one uniform with me coming in. Yeah. I mean, the bill works. Mr. Please, can you open up, please?
There's no sign of the suspect. If he's in, he's not opening the door.
I don't think there's anyone in. We've got a warrant, so we're going to have a look inside it. We're going to get the enforcer around to try and do the door, because we've got two locks on. That lock's on and that lock's on, so I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for us to open it, Bill.
A local unit is called to batter the door down.
You want to hand it to this chap here to do the biz for us? Right, well done, mate. It's all clear here, isn't everybody in?
We've come to the address. The man we were looking for is not present, but we've forced entry because we've got a search warrant, and we're just in the process of searching the premises for any evidence relating to what we're investigating.
The traffic unit starts the search for evidence of fraud.
We're really looking for documentary evidence. We're looking for anything in relation to claims. Service documents and mobile phones.
Very soon, the team accumulates what they came for.
We found quite a lot of documents, a lot of banking documents, and a lot of documents in relation to accidents, even accidents that the actual person's had, that actually owns a flat or lives in the flat. And we found a lot of SIM cards in there as well. So I'm interested to know what that's regarding. Perhaps he's selling them on, or perhaps that's part of a larger conspiracy.
DI Hindmarsh leaves the raid location. He heads off to oversee the search of the HQ of the accident claims company. The Met Traffic Unit continues its search for evidence.
We've got two vehicles that we believe have been used in this particular crime. We're going to seize them.
Your car insurance doesn't just cover the cost of vehicle repair. It will also pay your medical bills if you suffer an injury whilst driving. The most common injury sustained in a motor vehicle incident is whiplash.
The most common form of whiplash injury that I see in my surgery results from a rear shunt car accident where the head gets forcibly thrown backwards and then forwards. That causes the muscles and the ligaments about the neck and the shoulder to stretch more than normal, and that causes pain and inflammation.
Despite improvements in car safety features, in the UK, whiplash claims are at an all-time high.
Around about 76% of all bodily injury claims that we receive are for whiplash claims.
Insurers are paying out nearly £2 billion a year to the claimants. The cost to the NHS of treating whiplash has been estimated at £8 million a year.
It looks as though the UK public have got the weakest necks in Europe.
It's the 7th of February 2008, and the Route 9 bus is navigating the busy roads of Luton. Partway through its journey, it's obstructed by a badly parked car. The driver makes a mistake.
He was confronted by a Golf which was parked at a very strange, awkward angle, so he had to slow right down and wait for approaching traffic to go by before he could try and manoeuvre around it. Unfortunately, as he manoeuvred round it, he misjudged the situation and he caught the car as he went by.
The owner of the car, Shazma Dad, takes the details of the Arriva bus and its driver.
Our driver, after the incident, quite rightly accepted that the accident was his fault and filled in the report form. Within 7 days of that incident, a solicitor's letter arrived at Arriva. That letter was claiming not only for the damage to the vehicle, but it was also claiming for personal injury.
Miss Dad reported that the incident had left her with whiplash and difficulty in sleeping. She was now seeking financial compensation from the bus company. As a matter of course, the claims handler compared Miss Dad's account of events against the bus driver's report. The bus driver's report stated that no one was in the car at the time of the incident. possibly something that could be resolved by one of the 9 cameras on the Arriva bus. And the rear-view camera revealed that Miss Dad was not in her car at the moment it was struck, confirming the bus driver's report. So where was she?
The rear-view camera showed our driver getting out of his bus, walking back to the car, looking round, going into the nearby shop, walking back out with Miss Dad.
So Miss Dad was not in her car at the time of the accident. In fact, she only learnt of the scrape after she'd been found by the bus driver in a nearby shop. Amazingly, Miss Dad still had the nerve to claim for whiplash. On being confronted with the CCTV evidence, Miss Dad withdrew her claim and paid costs and damages to the bus company. But that wasn't the end of it for her.
We were not prepared to let it rest there. We want to send out a clear message to people that they should not try and defraud Arriva. So we passed the papers to the Bedfordshire Police and they decided to prosecute her for fraud.
Shazma Dad pleaded guilty and was given a conditional discharge.
I guess that bus companies are regarded by some people as an easy target, but what I should make clear to them is that bus companies are not easy targets, and in fact we are at the forefront of the fight against fraud.
Insurance fraud isn't all about car crashes and phony neck injuries. Sometimes it targets the finer things in life. This is the headquarters of the Art Loss Register, a specialist team based in central London. When a piece of artwork is lost or stolen anywhere in the world, the Art Loss Register team make it their mission to track it down and get it back. They are led by New York lawyer Chris Marinello.
We are everywhere in every art market throughout the world, but we're really a small team of about 15 to 20 people.
Chris and his crack team of investigators will do whatever it takes to retrieve stolen art.
I coordinate with law enforcement, other lawyers, theft victims, sometimes setting up sting operations in conjunction with law enforcement. Basically, I'm the person who recovers the artwork.
Sometimes the Art Loss Register helps in the fight against fraud.
It used to be that 98% of my cases were simple stolen art cases that were in need of art recovery services. But now, maybe 25% will have some insurance fraud element to it.
One piece of art that came to its attention was this 16th century drawing, Portrait of a Man Wearing a Ruff by Ottavio Leoni.
Leoni is not as well known as Picasso or Michelangelo, but his work is very detailed and very popular. He comes from a school of Italian Renaissance artists that were doing a lot of drawings in preparation for more major works.
In 1993, the portrait was stolen from an art dealer's home. After an initial investigation, the Leoni was nowhere to be found. The art dealer received a £10,000 payout from her insurance company, and the details of the stolen art went on the books of the Art Loss Register.
Art is easy to steal, it's transportable, you can hide it easily.
19 years after its disappearance, the portrait reappeared. It was now on the books of London auction house Sotheby's. Sotheby's were unaware that the portrait was stolen, but the Art Loss Register were 100% aware.
Back in January of 2012, we spotted this piece when we were doing routine checking for Sotheby's. And this item matched perfectly with one that had been reported stolen to us in 1993. We contacted the auction house, told them of the match. They pulled the item from the sale, allowing us to sort the matter out.
Chris had contact details for the person selling the portrait, but no idea how they had come by the piece or what kind of person they were. He had to tread carefully. The person who had put the item up for sale could easily be involved in some seriously nasty crimes.
Stolen art trades in the underworld at a rate of maybe 5 or 10% of the true value of the artwork. And they also barter amongst themselves for drugs and for weapons. And we've seen some hard evidence of a connection to international terrorism and the antiquities trade.
Despite the unknown background of the seller, Chris decided to contact them directly. It transpired that the seller wasn't involved in underworld activity, but Chris was surprised at their response to his inquiry.
I said, look, you're selling a stolen work of art. And she said, oh, no, I'm not doing that at all. It was stolen from me. And I said, oh, that's interesting. So you're our theft victim.
The woman was both the current seller and the victim of the 1993 theft. This was a major surprise to Chris. He was determined to get to the bottom of where the painting had been for the last 19 years, so he questioned the woman further.
I said, well, could you tell me the circumstances of how you recovered it? She said, oh, yes, my sister was shopping, found the piece, and then she remembered that it was mine, and she bought it, and then I bought it from her.
Having received £10,000 from her insurance company for the loss of the portrait 19 years earlier, the woman could potentially be facing a fraud charge. However, with no proof that it was anything more sinister than a coincidence, Chris had to believe her. Advised by the original insurer, Chris gave the woman two options to avoid criminal proceedings.
Keep the painting and reimburse your insurance company, or release your claim to the piece altogether.
Despite escaping a criminal prosecution, the seller had a wish of her own.
Then she called me and said, do I have to give you the frame? She goes, I paid a lot of money for that frame. And I said, you're just getting by without being charged with insurance fraud, and you're asking me to keep the frame. She goes, you're probably right. Okay, you can have the frame.
With the painting recovered and held safely by the Art Loss Register, Chris entered it into an auction at Bonhams.
The piece has lost value since the insurance company paid out, which happens. And it's possible that this piece could sell for anywhere between £5,000 and £8,000. As crazy as some of the scenarios that I have seen, that would not surprise me if she showed up and bid on this thing again.
Mr. Please, can you open up, please?
Today, officers from the Met Police Traffic Unit are raiding an accident management company suspected of fraud. They've completed a search for evidence at a suspect's flat. DI Hindmarsh has driven to a second location to continue the operation.
I'm outside the accident management company now.
At the premises, DI Hindmarsh is joined by a small team of Met Police officers. They have a member of staff from the company with them. He is under arrest.
So are they scanned onto the computer? Yeah, so really then most of what is in there is scanned on and it's on the computer, yeah? Okay.
The search begins. Nearly everything in the office is placed in evidence bags. Of great interest to the traffic unit is a large quantity of cash found in one of the filing cabinets.
Basically, we're going to end up seizing the majority of this office.
DI Hindmarsh leaves the officers to continue their search as he's needed back at the location of the raided flat.
We're just on our way back to the address of the gentleman who wasn't in, because we've got two vehicles that we believe have been used in this particular crime, and as such, we're going to seize them.
As a result of the investigation into the accident claims company, 7 people have been arrested and charged with conspiracy to defraud. If found guilty, they could each face lengthy jail terms.
We're really, really pleased with the results. This has been about 8 or 9 months of work to get to the arrest phase. So to get the result that we have, yes, we're really, really pleased. But the work continues.